Hello, everyone. My name is Beth Bador, and I am the proud owner of The Creative Life by Design. And I've been meaning to do a workshop and a seminar about art for healing. And I recently had a move and some medical issues, and I had to cancel on Facebook. So I thought I'd do a video and put it out on YouTube, and everybody can have it for free. Again, my name is Beth Bador, and I refer to myself as the kidney goddess. And the way that I decided that I wanted to offer this workshop, this conversation about art for healing, is I am a kidney transplant patient. I am a kidney patient that is off dialysis, and luckily I did receive a kidney transplant. So during this time, I used art as a way to heal myself and to help with depression and anxiety. And I've spoken about this several times on different avenues and sites and profiles, and I bring it to you again with a little extra. I'm just not going to talk about art as in painting and drawing. I'm going to go in several different avenues today. But today we're going to talk about art as in healing art with painting and penciling and stenciling and all those things where you actually have to put the brush or the pen or the pencil, whatever modality you're using, to the paper or the canvas. Now, why would I say that art is healing? What happens when you draw, when you paint, whether you're an artist or not? Maybe you're doing a coloring book, right? Okay. So when you do that, where does your mind go? It goes to concentrating on what you're creating, right? So you're not thinking about your health issues or your divorce, or you're not being depressed from thinking about the past or being anxious for thinking about the future, right? You're thinking and being in the moment of creating whatever it is that you're doing, whether you feel like you're on a professional level or you're a beginner level. It doesn't make any difference because it's the journey that you're going through when you're creating whatever you're creating. It's not about the final product. It's not about the final result. Now, you may be surprised and your goal may be for the end result. However, the healing part, the intention right now is for healing. Okay. So it changes your brain waves. It changes the structures, the nerves in your brain when you're creating, when you're doing art, when you're working with your hands and your eyes and you're feeling the paper that you're working on or the canvas that you're working on. It's giving you that sensation. For me, I almost use it as a meditation because, like I said, I can't think of anything else. I'm not thinking about the future. Oh no, what's going to happen tomorrow with my kidneys? And is this kidney going to work? Am I going to have to go back on dialysis? Am I going to be able to pay for my medicines? I'm just thinking about right now. And I'm not going to the past and thinking about all the stuff that I went through to get to this moment here and being depressed about what happened. I'm being physically present right here in this moment. So not only does it change the brain waves, but it helps your body to heal because you're not going in those different directions and thinking about negative things. You're being positive. You're being in that moment. And maybe you have some hand issues or elbow, shoulder, whatever you're working with in that moment. If you do, it can even be helpful, like with your joints, if you have arthritis, as long as you don't overdo and like do it for too long a time or grip whatever you're using to struggle with it. And if you have disabilities with your hands, they even now, occupational therapists have tools and designs for you to help you so you can paint, finger paint. If you feel like you can't hold a brush, there's other things that you can use, a sponge, a brush. Pencils even have tools that you can put on the pencil to help with your drawing, right? Some people don't have any hands, can't use their hands. So what do you think they use? Their feet, right? their mouth to hold the brush, or they use a computer, right? Somehow they can control the computer, but they can't hold something and work with their hands. Maybe it's their brain that's making the picture, or they're able to use the computer in something that has been adapted for them, so they can create on the computer itself, right? I didn't even think about that the last time I did this conversation in this workshop. So you see, every time I talk about these things, I bring in something new. So even if you've heard this conversation with me before, it may be totally different because I learn different things. I'm in a different state of being, all those different things, right? So those are a few things that I can initially say about painting, drawing, stenciling, no matter if you use acrylics or oils or watercolors. It's all about the process, okay? So let's talk a little bit about other things creating as far as art in this realm of what I'm talking about. So what if you want to use clay, right? That could be another medium to create an art form. So as you're working with your hands and working with all the tools and the different things that you have to use, maybe a kiln. Again, especially if you're working with a kiln and hot products, hot clay as it's forming. I've never really worked with clay too much. I've just heard about it. So I'm not going to talk as a professional artist with clay. Okay. This is just things that I've heard about or I've seen on a YouTube video, those kind of things. So if you're working with something hot, you have to be so careful. So as you're working with something that's hot that could burn you, you're not thinking about, oh, you got to go to the grocery store and what am I going to have to buy? And no, you better be thinking about that hot thing that you're handling, right? So there's several different mediums. So let's talk about the colors that you choose or that you want to put on your product, your creation, let's say. So if you're doing fiery colors like red and orange and yellow, all those are bright colors, bold colors. So how do those colors make you feel? It could make you feel happy, right? It could make you feel joyful, radiant. Think about what red means to you. Maybe it means love, right? So when you're painting or you're becoming an artist with a color, that would be one thing you want to think about. Now, what if it's like a calming color, like a blue or a green, very soothing colors, very calming colors? If you're like this and you're all excited and you're anxious and you're being like this, maybe you want to create something with calming colors as you're exploring those colors, as you're working with those colors. That's how you may feel, right? And if it's a neutral color, that's very neutral. It's a neutral emotion. It's usually the colors that you're putting on top of that neutral color, unless you really choose to make a neutral painting, a neutral art product. But you can put colors on top of that neutral design, right? And then if you're doing black and white, that's extreme from one end of the spectrum right to the other. So maybe like a yin yang sign, right? That's white and black. So maybe you're working with that dynamic, working between two polar opposites to bring it together, to bring in some harmony and balance in your life. Now, as you're creating this, what is your environment that you're in? Is it an environment that makes you feel like you want to create something? Or is it a very drab, cold, clammy, moist environment? So you want to think about the environment that you're in. What about what you're listening to? Are you in silence when you're creating? Or do you have happy, exciting music, your favorite music, or very calming music? Maybe you like classical music. So again, what do you want to create? What do you want to feel through this process of discovering the journey of healing? Now, Most of the time, I continue conversation around that process. But there's so many other ways to create art, right? I was just talking about music. What if you're using your voice to create, right? So as you're using your words and your volume, and I don't know that much about uh, language and your voice and your tone and all the different modes and tools that you can use with your voice. I'm learning, but I don't know the language behind it. So, as you're expressing yourself, as you're moving your mouth and you're using your lungs and your breath, which is so important, as you're breathing to create those sounds, that is healing in itself, especially if you have lung disease. Now, with some lung disease, you may not be able to have those big, deep, full breaths of air and then expel it. But as long as you're breathing, you're bringing the oxygen to your cells. You're helping to create new healing, your cells to improve and to heal. And there was something else in there that I wanted to talk about the breath. Oh, it can be very calming if you use a very quiet, relaxed breath. Or if you're using something like, right, that could be very energetic, right, and dynamic. So even when you're singing, when you're using your voice, or maybe you feel like you don't have a voice and you want to heal that wound in you, that you don't feel heard, that you don't have a voice, that you don't have opinion. You can use song, even like I said with painting, right? You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a singer. Sing in the shower, sing in your bedroom, sing as you're walking down the road and nobody's around to really listen to you. Nobody's paying attention to you unless you're really, really loud and have this great voice, and right? So use that to express yourself. So what other things about music? Let's talk about it. Tools. Oh, what's the difference between a drum, right? Loud and banging and all different kinds of noises depending on what your tools you're using um, to make the drum sound, or like is it like a bell sound, or is it like a deep tone from an African drum, or just think about that compared to like a flute, right, or a violin, anything that you can think of to express yourself. It's the vibration of the tool that's healing. It's the sensation that you're feeling, the vibration, you're hearing the vibration. That vibration could be going through your whole body. So that frequency and that vibration can be very healing. Now, there's so much research coming up that when you listen to songs, when you're creating music, that you can work with a certain frequency, a certain vibration to produce, to achieve what you want to create. Sometimes I'll listen to a frequency with a sound or music that will help me to sleep, or that will help me to relax, or if I'm feeling depressed or sad and I don't want to feel like that, I've processed those emotions and I'm still kind of stuck in that moment, something that's very vibrant and happy, exciting, something that's very stimulating. So that's how you can use your voice and sounds and instruments. You don't even have to have an instrument. Just like, have you ever had a kid before or been around a kid? What do? They pull out all the pots and pans right out of the drawers in the kitchen and they bang on them. Well, why do you think they do that? It's fun, it's play, and it's sound. And when they're hitting the pots and pans, it's a vibration. Yes, I'm making my video kind of jiggle as I'm pounding on my table here. So, that's another form of art is music. What about dance? What about movement? What about yoga? To me, that's another form of art, right? So it's not only expressing yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, as you're moving and you're creating. Maybe you're going to go on stage sometime and you're practicing to go on stage. Maybe you're not using it for that. Maybe you're doing it for yoga and all the healing effects of yoga. Oh, there's so many different things there. Today is not the day to talk about all the different things that you can achieve and feel and going through the journey with yoga. Dancing for fun, country line dancing, let's say, or some of the latest dances that are out there, and you're at a party or you're at a wedding and you're dancing. It's movement in your body. If you're feeling stuck in an emotion, what do you think is one of the best things that you can do? It's moving. Rather than staying in bed, rather than staying on the couch, sitting in a recliner, watching TV, just sitting there, right? Maybe in the dark, get up and move. When I was married, I'm no longer married, but when I was married, I used to tell my husband if I was starting to go into sadness or depression, what he could do for me to support me was to tell me to go outside and go for a walk. Not only is it the movement of going outside for a walk, but it's being in nature, getting sun. Now, that's not really an art form. However, we were talking about movement. So just getting out and going for a walk. Anything Tai Chi, yoga, whatever it is, hula hooping, to get movement in your body. So what other forms of art can you think about? We've talked about art as in painting and sculpturing, those kind of things. We've spoken about using your voice. We've spoken about, I'm just blinking at the moment. Just movement in general. So we've spoken about a whole bunch of different types of art, and I know that there's so many more. So if you have a realm that you really appreciate, and we're talking about art today, although if there's a realm that you really appreciate that helps to bring you joy, helps to bring you peace, use that tool. The most challenging thing for me sometimes, and just recently with the move and some of my health issues, was remembering all the tools I had in my toolbox and to get that motivation going, to get out of bed, to get out of the idea of just sitting there and watching television and numbing out, to start your engine again, right? To have somebody, it's like a light switch, try to turn on the light switch, or in the South they call it, which I never knew from Buffalo, New York, coming down south, cut the light on, right? Or cut it off. But whatever you need to get your motivation going. You can talk to a friend, you can talk to a parent, you can talk to a counselor, you can talk to a psychiatrist, you can talk to a priest. There's so many different people, whatever your person is, or your type of conversation, type of healing is going to get you motivated. That's what you need, because we're not like a robot, at least not yet, where we can plug in a new battery or plug in a cord and charge us up again, right? We generally have to do it for ourselves. Or if we need support, I have a friend and a mentor, and if I'm feeling stuck, I'll call her. And one of my major things for me is when I get stuck like that, I'm feeling like a victim to something, a victim to what happened to me when I moved, a victim to my blood clot in my arm. And she helps to remind me. We straighten my crown, right? My pretend crown. I do have a real crown, though, with crystals. That's fun. Because I call myself the kidney goddess, to bring me back to remembering that I am a victor. I'm victorious, and I am no longer playing the part of being a victim. And when I'm lying in bed and when I'm watching TV and sitting in the dark, that's playing victim. Unless there's something that has happened that I need to heal and I need to be quiet, right? That's different. That's not depression. That's not sadness. That's what I might have to do to heal. That might be all the energy that I have. But I'm talking about if you're coming from a place of depression and sadness I'm not talking about grief. I'm not talking about like someone passed away or you were in an accident and you lost a limb. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. I'm talking about depression, um, that something has happened, something has occurred that you are stuck in that depression, that you're having a hard time moving through that emotion and releasing that emotion so you can get your Energizer Bunny back on track, right? And I will talk to her and she'll remind me that I'm victorious. So when I feel victorious and when I start acting victorious, sometimes I have to behave that way and think that way before I become that way, before I'm being that way. Then I can create an experience where I'm no longer feeling like a victim in that situation, that I'm feeling like a victor. I'll give you an example. When I was moving, there were circumstances that I felt were very negative, why I moved and what happened while I moved. So I was recreating the story and I was telling people the story and I was going over and over it in my head and in my body, and I was still feeling that way and I was angry and frustrated that that happened. Well, that moment was over. I had moved into a better place and I was very happy in my new place, but I was still bringing that awful feeling with me. So as I was moving and I was still dealing with some of this, I created experiences where I felt like a victor. I was acting as a victor rather than moving into being a victim. I presented myself to my landlord as I am a professional. I am going to do things to make my situation better. I'm feeling that you're acting in a certain way. I'm playing victim in a certain way. I'm no longer going to play victim to this situation. I'm going to be a victor and act professional. And once I made that switch, then I could go from feeling a victim to a victor and step out of that depression. However, I still was in a little bit of a mode where I couldn't get that engine going. So when I talked to my friend and mentor and worked from being a victim to a victor, then I had to start acting in that way. So for me, it was little steps at a time. So if we're talking about art and creating things, for me, it was getting up and doing some movement rather than just lying in the bed, doing a little bit of yoga, doing a little bit of physical therapy that I needed to do, because when I moved, I have had so many injuries and surgeries and the 2 kidney transplants that my whole body just wasn't sore. It was feeling pain and hurt and struggled and challenges. So for me to get up and start moving helped me to get motivated. And I've been thinking to go back to painting again. That would help me to process all the feelings that I had during the move and moving into a new space. So I know that's a little bit off track, but that's what I'm trying to, not trying to, this is what my message is when you're in a state that you want to heal from, whether it's an emotional thing, a spiritual thing, a physical thing, you can use art, a form of art, to heal yourself, to come to a new space of feeling balanced and having harmony in your body, with your emotions, with your spiritual being. And that's the modality that I'm talking about today. So again, think about all these different things and how you can apply them to your life. And sometimes I say that when we journal on these things that we're thinking, that we're feeling, our feelings, and after we create a piece of art, even if it's from the coloring book, you get a coloring book with images that make you happy or words that make you happy, phrases that make you happy. If maybe you're an animal person and all you want to do is have a coloring book with animals and that makes you happy, then what you could do afterwards is you could journal on it. What did this process do for you? How did it help you? How did it bring you back to balance and harmony? To color these symbols, these images, these words, How did that help you to heal? And when we go back to the same place again in the future, can we remember that this process helped us? Can we go back and see our journal and say, this may be a struggle at the moment for me to get motivated to do this, but look at what this process did for me. And when you can look at the end result, if you can remember when you're feeling anxious, you're depressed, when you're healing from a chronic disease, or you fell off your bike and you fractured your arm, let's say, when you're going through this process and you can go back and you can see what helped you before, well, why aren't you using that now, right? And if you're experiencing feeling stuck and you need someone to help you start moving again to get you motivated, then, like I said, reach out to those people, that type of person or that specific person that has helped you in the past, so you can get motivated to do the process to help you to heal. So with that being said, again, my name is Beth Bedore, and I refer to myself as the Kidney Goddess. And you can find me at thecreativelifebydesign.com. You can also email me, and the best email is beth@thecreativelifebydesign.com. I'm out there on Facebook under Beth Bedore. Do a little bit of Instagram, a little bit of TikTok. I don't do Twitter too much. I have been on Teachable in the past. I have one thing out on Teachable right now, and it's a coaching program that I have. If you are feeling like a victim and you want to be victorious and you want to be your own champion, that's a great place to go, is to Teachable. I'm also on YouTube. Go to my YouTube page, Beth Bedore, The Creative Life by Design, and see all the different videos that I have out there, and pick some that, really tickles your fancy. So that's enough said for today on this topic. I'm quite sure I will do this topic again in the future. And I think there's about 3 other workshops, seminars that I was going to put out there on Facebook over the last couple of months into the end of December, January, and February, that I will produce here in the next few hours and days. So we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.